right, good afternoon, everybody. It's been a while since I've done something like this before. My name is Donald Michael Cronin, Jr. I am Don Sr.'s eldest son. On behalf of the Cronin family, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out here today. This is wonderful. What a great turnout. It's amazing. A couple of shout-outs I'd like to do. Recognize the Honorable Mayor Brian A. DePena. City Councilor, former City Council President Mark LaPlante is here. Oh, there he is. The Mayor's Chief of Staff, Santiago Matias. And before we get things started, I'd like to call for a moment of silence for Sergeant Ian Taylor, who recently deceased from the Billerica Police Department, formerly from the Lawrence Police Department. Thank you. I'd like to call to the microphone for an opening prayer from Detective Thomas Cuddy, LPD.
Dragging me out of retirement for this one. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Good and gracious God, source of all life and all love, we call upon your name as we come together to honor and remember Sergeant Donald Cronin for his service to the United States of America and the Air Force and his 38 years of dedicated service to the Lawrence Police Department as a sergeant and a police officer. We also remember in a special way all members of the Lawrence Police Department who have gone before us, particularly Sergeant Ian Taylor and Sergeant Charles Saindon, both of whom were partners and worked directly under Sergeant Cronin during their time in the community policing unit. We ask this as we ask all that is good in your Son's name, Jesus, who remains Lord forever and ever. Amen. The Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen.
Now we're going to do the call to colors, the Lawrence Police Department Color Guard. Please stand.
Stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets regular, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the
And now we'd like to invite Mayor Brian DePena to the microphone to offer some opening remarks.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today, the city of Lawrence recognized Sergeant Donald Cronin. Is I want to recognize a family. I want to include family because when somebody women's or men's service to the nation, service to the city, sacrifice families. I understand. Take a time for serving to the community. Take a time, some time for job and family, especially for when you have a kid. Sometime my little son, Gerard, have a 12-year-old, and he asked me, for what reason you know attending a couple of meetings in my school? And I tell him, listen, in the future, you understand. And I understand the family sacrifice when somebody take an opportunity for serving a community or the nation. And I understand Sergeant Cronin served in Vietnam. You know, that's the reason many countries in the world, include America, is a freedom. And I appreciate it. Thank you for being here today. The city Lord take a moment for recognize not only Sergeant Cronin, include family. God bless the city of Lord. God bless everyone today, and God bless the whole family. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor DePena. Now for some opening remarks. Former City Councilor, now State Representative, Estela Reyes, make some opening remarks.
Thank you. I'm also want to call our former Councilor Mark LaPlante to be right next to me, who also was part of this and took the final decision to make this possible. And Councilor Levy. Oh, I don't know if he is any other councilor who was part of. Okay. It is a pleasure and a great honor to be here with all of you, especially honoring someone who has been dedicating 38 years of his life donated to this city, but also the sacrifice that he has made for all of us. I know that my former brother and sister who are right next to me, they are going to be agree what I'm about to say, and my apologies if I make anyone to feel bad. But when I used to be the former chair of Ordinance Committee, I used to say to the applicants and also the family that why that we have to wait until we don't have our loved ones present for them to see how much we appreciate what they have done and how much we appreciate them as a person. I hope that this ceremony, it can mark many others that we don't have to wait until they are no longer with us to celebrate. I'm sure that Sergeant Cronin would be very happy and honored to be present today if we would have this done 12 years ago. Thank you, and I know that he's going to be living in our heart for many and forever, but this is something that I want to just plant it to all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. That was the moment that I've been dreading for about a month now, where I got to speak. Again, my name's Donald Michael Cronin Jr. DJ is what everybody refers to me as. I am Don's eldest son. I just want to recognize my stepmother, Linda, and her family, her sister and brother and their families are here. My aunt and uncle, my aunt Nancy and my uncle Bill, my father's siblings are here. My cousin Kate, my cousin Derek, who I'll say something about in a minute. I'm probably missing people, and I apologize for that. But I'm just going to start off. It's hard for me to believe the next St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, 2025, will be 10 years since my dad passed. 10 years. When I was asked to do his eulogy, I thought that would be the first time and last time that I'd have to wear a suit and talk about my dad. But here we are. This time's different. That time was a time of loss, sadness, a lot of crying. A lot of pomp and circumstance, which we have a little bit of that here today, but his funeral was something, it was a big day. But this time is about, was celebrating his life of service to the city of Lawrence and the Lawrence Police Department and the community that he loves so much. People have asked me if I'm sad on St. Patrick's Day, when it comes around, do I have bad memories? Sure, there's some bad memories, but it was one of my father's favorite days of the year. Like, he loved the Lawrence St. Patrick's Day parade. He loved all the, the pomp and circumstance and the partying that came along with it. My father loved all of that. He made his rounds. Going to see the Irish band, the Wolf Tones, we used to get limos. We'd start at the Rocky Club up the street here. There's a bunch of people here today who've come, yeah. We'd start at the Rocky Club, get in the limos, drive down to Dorchester, see the Wolf Tones. We'd get 2 tables full of people. It was a lot of fun, and he really loved that. And so St. Patrick's Day to me is a time of fun. Always was and always will be. I love that day. But I want to go back. I want to remind folks, my father came from a family that dedicated their lives to service, especially here in the city of Lawrence. My great-grandfather moved here in the late 1800s. He was 13 years old. Michael Cronin, my father was named after him, Donald Michael. And he was 13. He came with his 2 older brothers who were also in their teenagers. And they moved to the north side in the Arlington neighborhood. They had a sister that had already lived here, a much older sister. I don't even know if they knew her before they came here. But my great-grandfather Michael became a Lawrence police. He was a Lawrence police officer in the early 1900s. He married into the Sullivan family from South Lawrence. They raised money. They were here before they were born here. My great-grandmother was born here. They raised money to build St. Patrick's Church. Her brother was a Lawrence police officer, Jeremiah Sullivan Jr., Lawrence police officer for years. My grandfather, John Cronin, he was a state representative, represented the north side of Lawrence for many years in the 50s and 60s, and he also worked for the police department. He worked in the jail. He wasn't a police officer, but he worked in the jail and lockup. But he would also come home nights from the State House in his suit and mop floors in the old Lawrence police station, down by the Common. His first cousin, Jeremiah Cronin, died in World War II. He was in the Pacific. He's buried in Honolulu, Hawaii, but there's a park on Adler Street, across the street from the Tarbuck School, that's named after him, the Jeremiah Cronin Park. And my Uncle Jack, John Cronin Jr., he was my father's oldest brother, and his hero in his life. Was a state trooper for the state of Massachusetts for many, many years. And his grandson is here somewhere today, he is Derek Duraney, and he always wanted to follow in his grandfather's footsteps, and he is a state trooper for 5 or 6 years now. Where are you, Derek? I saw you. Oh, there you are. Hey, how do I miss you? You're 8 feet tall. So that's that's where I was going to get to. The current generation, me and my brother, we kind of took a different tack. My brother's a postman, postal worker. That's also it's also service to the community, right? I'm a union representative. Whether you know it or not, I do provide a service to my members. But we also have a cousin, our cousins in Ireland, who we kept a relationship with. They still run the family farm, the Cronin family farm in East Kerry. And one of our cousins who's been here, who folks have met, Diarmid, he never met my father, but he followed in his footsteps. He's a member of, I'm going to screw this up, Garda Síochána, which is the Irish police service. He works out of Storrs Street in Dublin, which, if you know anything about Dublin, it's like he's low man on the totem pole, so he's working in the worst police station in Dublin. My father loved his family. He loved the city of Lawrence, and he loved being a police officer. Sure, as all of you know, over the 38 years that he was a police officer, the job had its ups and downs. But at the end of his career, he was he found his niche in the community policing program, working with a lot of folks who are here today. He loved that. I remember him, I'd call him about something, and he's like, "You'll never guess where I am today." Like, "No, Dad, where are you?" "I'm on a boat, and a police boat in the middle of the Merrimack River." I'm like, "Oh, it must be nice, Dad, but I need some money." I'm kidding. But my dad didn't really talk a lot about his service he didn't really bring his work home. He worked a lot. He wasn't there a lot of the times, but he was there when he needed to be, and that was fine. But me and my brother we both graduated from Central Catholic on Hampshire Street, right up the road from here. And my father knew all the teachers in Central Catholic. He knew the principal, Brother Ken Hogan, the Dean of Discipline, Mr. Bill Cowie, and he was at our school in uniform all the time, and we couldn't sneeze without our father breathing down our neck. He was always there. Like, it's, yeah. You know, back in 2003, I'd been to Ireland a few times before him, but he and I did a trip to Ireland together, and it was probably one of the best trips that I ever went on with my best time I ever had with my father, right? It was just him and I. We traveled Ireland, all over the island, and you know, he met his family over there. I had known them already. And then the following year, my cousin Patrick Cronin was going to University College Cork, and him and a bunch of his friends got J1 visas, and they came over to the U.S. Coley Ryan from the Claddagh was going to give them work, but we couldn't find them a place to live, so Coley found them work down in Cape Cod at the Irish Village and a place to live. Patrick couldn't make it because he just had, you know, when the pandemic started, I was in Ireland when lockdown happened at Fort Patrick's wedding. And since then, he's had 2 kids. So his wife just had their second child in December. There was no way he was going to get out of there to come here, but he wishes he could be here. But one of his friends, James Grinnell, he came over for this 20 years ago, and he came over just for this ceremony, and he's been meaning to come over ever since. I just wanted to point him out. You know, like I said before, my father didn't talk much about his life as a police officer. He kind of kept that separate. But I worked with a guy. I worked at Shaw's Warehouse in Methuen. I guess that's how I got my start in the unions. And the battery man was a guy by the name of Richard Brown, Dick Brown. Me and my brother grew up with his nephew, Jeremy Brown. I don't know if you remember him, Bill. But Dick Brown was a great guy, and he told me a story once that he kept on getting picked up by the Lawrence police for whatever reason. And he was, but they were, when they would arrest him or take him in, they were looking for a different Richard Brown. They weren't looking for that Richard Brown. And he told my father wrote a letter for him on Lawrence Police Department stationery saying, I vouch for this Richard Brown, and he cited Sergeant Donald M. Cronin, and he never forgot it. Like, it was pretty amazing. You know, my father would never have retired if it weren't for the financial crisis in 2008. Where the new, younger generation of cops were facing layoffs. I'm sure a lot of you remember that period of time. My father just couldn't justify to himself staying on while the younger cops got laid off. So that's when he made the decision to retire. He would have still been there to the day he died. He didn't want to leave. But that year, the year that he retired, it was a big year for him. It was also the year that he married my stepmother Linda. It was also when he moved out of this place here and moved in with Linda in Andover. You know, he left here after he retired, but now he's back in the place that he loves so much, and he'll be here for generations to come. This is his home, Lawrence. And that's all I have. Thank you very much. Can I get Linda, my brother Bill, my niece Brianna, and Nelson to come up for the unveiling of the sign, please? Some guest speakers. I'm going to call the first one Chief Mali Bania from the Lawrence Police Department, if you'd like to come up and say something.
Good afternoon to all. In 1985, when I first came to the city of Lawrence, I was only 18 years old, and I rented a room, 4 Hall Street, that's in the corner of Park and Hall. And there was a little grocery store there. I forgot the name of it, but the people who owned that store remain my friend to this day. And I remember this summer day, I was outside the store. Here comes this police officer in a brand new cruiser, and he was taking notes. And what he was doing was getting the information from the store owner, the phone number, the contact number for the police department, in case there was an emergency or they had an alarm. So in '85, in that summer, that's when I met Sergeant Cronin. A few years after that, I joined the Lawrence Police Department, and we worked together for many, many years. Right here. And remember, Linda, he was a great man. He was a great officer. He was a great supervisor. And if anybody here has stories about Don Cronin, should be retired Lieutenant Conway, who was his commanding officer. And as I look around, I see a lot of the old timers that retired years ago. Jack, Robert, it's a lot of guys. It's a good showing. He was a good man. He loved this city. He loved the Rocky Club, and he loved St. Patrick. Listen, it's an honor for us, Nelson. Thank you for starting this city council, the mayor. Thank you for recognizing this great man. He's a Lawrence boy. He loved this city, and I agree with the son. If it was up to him, he would have been working now. So thank you for showing up. Thank you for your dedication, and he'll be in our hearts forever. Thank you.
Next, retired Chief Roy Vask from Lawrence Police Department.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to follow Sergeant Benier here at the podium to honor Don Cronin. Chief, now, for now. Linda, it's a pleasure to be here. So thankful that you allowed me to be part of it. Nelson as well, thank you very much. I was fortunate before I got on the police department to know Don Cronin for many, many years. I grew up spending a lot of time at the Portuguese Club, playing a lot of soccer at the Playstead. And as we all know, Don did a lot of the details there in the Portuguese community. Don was so much part of the community that many, many times he was honored by the community. He was one of them. I remember as a child looking over, he was a very daunting individual, obviously very tall. But what I noticed about him was that he was always empathetic and friendly. And I thought that was, characteristics of what a police officer should be. That carried over when I became a police officer and started working with Don. He was really a role model for all of us in policing, and a role model for all police officers, not only then, but now in the future as well. We called him Mr. Community Policing. He was that so much ingrained in the community. He was all about working with the community. He realized how important working with your community in Lawrence was to get everybody working together for a better Lawrence, and that's exactly what Don wanted. I learned so many lessons from him. He was very articulate, very funny, obviously. Used to tell a lot of stories, used to joke a lot with him. Not only was he so important in the Portuguese community, I think he was more Portuguese than I was. It seemed like at some points they seemed to talk to him more than anyone else. He was that ingrained. But also, as we all know, Don spent a lot of his years here at the apartments on Maple Street, and he became instantly one of the community here, the senior community. He was their police officer. He was their family member, really, and Don took great care of them. They loved Don wholeheartedly, and I think that is a reflection of the quality of the person that he is, and you should take great peace in that. He was a great person. They looked at him for not only safety in the building, but also for his friendship and his family. And that's really says a lot about the quality of the person that he was. On the job, Don took the job very serious. Like I said, he had a great sense of humor, but he was always empathetic. He wasn't really concerned about making arrests and things of that nature. He always wanted to talk to individuals, find out if there was a way that he could help them. That's exactly some of the things that I remember about him, helping, empathetic to everyone. On the job, he was a big part of our boating marine unit. He started that unit with us on the river. He was very into that. He was very good at it. Also, the bike unit, the pedal bike unit, into that as well. The walking beats. Everything and anything community policing. Where we are today in the community in terms of our community policing, and certainly the lessons that I learned from him that I tried to incorporate when I was the chief in community policing, a lot of that stemmed from me watching Don over the years as a small child all the way up through the ranks of the police department to become chief. He was that involved, and he was that on my mind in terms of a lot of the different things, a lot of the different programs, and the way I went about community policing in Lawrence. So again, I can't think of a a more fitting place here, obviously, where Don spent a lot of time to have this for him. It's long overdue. Linda was another quick memory of mine that I loved so much. As many of us went to your wedding, as you know. That was fantastic to see that, and I thank God that I was a part of that. You know, I know Don's up there in heaven looking down on all of us, probably laughing or crying sometimes as to what's going on, but, you know, he's truly missed. There's one of a kind, and it's true what they say when they say that, you know, the good die young, unfortunately. We've had a lot of tragedies here lately, but Don is right along there with him in terms of leaving all of us way too soon, and I'm sure, you know, I don't have to speak for you in that regard. I'm sure it's been very difficult for all of you to deal with the loss of Don, and I can tell you that that loss is felt not only through myself and through the police department, but the entire community. He was that, made that, he made that much of an impact on them, and I hope that you take that from me today, is that his impact on the Lawrence community reverberates still today. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. When you mentioned he was up there laughing, I was channeling my father inside when I was putting on this suit today. That's the first time I put it on in 4 years. And I could hear him in the back behind me saying, "Oh, looking a little tight there, DJ. A little tight." Anyway, next speaker is, it says retired, well, my father's longtime partner, retired Detective John McDonald. I never knew he was John. You're always Jack. Come on, Jack. Jack, I know.
We'll be all set. Looking around, excuse me, I got allergies, and I wipe my eyes later, but you never know. It's good to see so many people here. Everybody deserves to be here. Don is grateful for the fact that you are here, I'm sure. And if a bolt of lightning hits me while I'm standing here, you'll know where it came from. Sorry, Don. When I first came on the police department, I was assigned to ride with Don. He was a big boy, tall, much taller than me. So I said, good, he can handle the problems. Well, the first problem I had with him, I attended a pool party, and I had a bathing suit on. And he, you look like you remember this. Anyways, he tears down my bathing suit to my ankles. And I can't run because I'm tied up. And then he's whipping my butt with a towel. I says, oh, I don't get mad, but I get even. Well, the entire group of people sitting there were having a hell of a time laughing. Well, finally, I got behind a car and rectified the problem. And I says, Don, I'll get you one of these days. He says, oh, I know you will. Well, we did a lot of calls. I learned a lot from Don because he was very knowledgeable about everything. He knew how to approach a problem. He did it with respect to the people we were talking to. There were times when respect was not in demand. Aggressiveness was, and I was the aggressor. He was my backup. He was bigger. But they'd always pick on me. I couldn't figure it out. Well, I recall several events where we both had a good laugh. One where a German Shepherd nearly chewed us up. We had a call up on Prospect Hill, a domestic. So we arrived at the home, and all was peace and quiet. So I says to Don, let's go around the back. Usually the guy will run out the back door. So we go around to the back door. When we're approaching the back door, then Don starts backstepping. Because he's taller than me, I can't see why he's backing up. I said, Don, you're going to run over me. You better get moving, he says. Then I heard it, this German Shepherd growling like crazy. So I look around him, I go, oh my God. Well, the dog ran out of chain, thank God. And we escaped. I said, Don, you should have told me there was a dog. I didn't see the dog till I heard it. He goes, I had to get out of there. I just, you almost ran me over. So we survived that, went to the front door. They wouldn't open the door. Nobody would talk to us, and that's fine with me. That call was over. We never got another call to go back. Or we would have gone to the front door for sure. So many events took place over the years. One in particular, we got a late call. We worked till at 5 p.m. In about 5 minutes of 5, a call comes in for a guy laying in the street up on Prospect Hill by the hospital. Of course, that was our sector. We had to go. So we get in the car, we rush up there, and here's this guy in the middle of the road thrashing around like a mackerel. So I pull a car up beside of him. I said, Don, I'm going to go around the other side. Boost him up. I'll grab him by the arms. You grab him by the legs, and we'll get him in the back seat. So I'm around the other side. Don props his body up. I reach over. I grab the guy under his armpits, and I give him a yank. And the guy and me go flying out the door. Don's standing there with 2 prosthetics in his arms. He goes, you ripped his legs off. I goes, he didn't feel nothing. Don't worry about it. Let's go. Throw those in with him. We're out of here. So we go back to the police station. We went into the Sally Port. Well, he's got no legs. What are we going to do with him? We had a pallet down there with wheels on it. So we propped the guy up on the pallet and told him, stay there. So we wheeled him into the booking room. Sergeant Morris, who was a good humorist at times, could be pretty rough, he comes in and he says to the guy, stand up. I go, Sarge, he is standing. What do you mean? He's not standing. I demand respect. I goes, well, you better come around the desk and take a look at what's going on. Now, Don had the legs out in the hallway. So Ray Morris comes out and he goes, oh, Jesus, what happened to him? I said, Don ripped his legs off. Morris goes, you know, you two are idiots. I go, what about the guy on the pallet? Put him in a cell. Put him in a padded cell. So we did. We put him in a padded cell. Took the pallet away so he couldn't injure himself. And we went on our way again. Call after call after call. Some serious, some not so serious, which was good, because we all need a laugh when you're working in uniform. And I'm looking at guys here that I worked with for many years, and then I did 12 years in Cruiser with various partners, Mark Rivet being one of my partners, Tommy Murphy I rode with up in Detectives. We took many a call. I always hated it when the phone rang at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, on especially Friday and Saturday night. Captain Molson would call and say, Jack, we got 2 bodies down. I says, and what's the condition? He says, well, one's dead. He ain't talking. But the other guy's alive. He'll probably talk to you. I goes, oh, I'm thrilled. I'll pick up a coffee. I'll be down ASAP. So, of course, you get up, you get dressed, you get a coffee, Dunkin' Donuts, thank God, and you go up to the hospital to see this other nitwit. So I get up there, and he gives me a hard time. I'm not talking to you. I don't need to talk to you. I said, he's stupid. You're not the defendant. You're the victim. You're supposed to talk to me and tell me what happened. I'm not telling you nothing. I'll take care of this myself. I goes, oh, so you're going to get a gun and go shoot the guy who shot you? He goes, yeah. I goes, you got a problem? You might get killed. Then I got to investigate your death. But I really don't want him. I would suggest you get in the car and go to New York, where you came from, and stay there. Because you don't belong here. And where they shot at you once and got you, but didn't kill you, they'll be back. Yeah, you're a funny man. He goes, I'll take care of this myself. This is very good. I'll get overtime, thank you. So that's the way life went. You had to bring humor into it. Otherwise, you go cuckoo. And sometimes my wife thinks I am a little cuckoo. Just ask her. She's sitting right there. Quiet. Watch what you say. But life went on. In homicide, quite often, the bad guy would run, and he'd go anywhere. New York, San Domingo, different islands. And I did a lot of traveling. I went to Texas once. I went to Florida several times. I got a call from a guy, a sergeant in Florida, who says to me, "Hey, you looking for Joe Schmo?" I goes, "No, I don't know his name." "Who is he?" He says, "He just walked in and said he killed somebody in Lawrence." I goes, "How long ago? A month and a half?" I goes, "So where's the body?" He says, "Oh, he told me they rolled him up in a blanket and threw him in the river." I goes, "Oh, terrific." I just, "Did he tell you what happened?" "Yeah, he was in a card game with a couple of guys, and they had an argument, and they had to shoot the guy." They had to shoot the guy? Not just one? No, 2 or 3 guys. Then they stuffed him in the closet, and after a couple of days, it got a little ripe, to say the least. And everybody here who's been on those types of calls know what I mean, getting ripe. So we sent the fire department down, of course. They were our best people working near water. And they went down, and the body had got caught in some bushes. So it didn't go too far. So they were able to drag it up on land, unfold it. There was a dead guy. Well, obviously he'd been dead for several days. So they called us down, like, "Oh, I don't know. We'll have him printed." So they took off to print him, and Clay Susi was our print man, and he was very good. He could come up with people's names faster than anybody I ever saw. He had a quick eye for prints. So we finally found out who the guy was. So I talked to the guy in Florida. He says, "What are you going to do?" I says, "Well, give me his information. I'll get a warrant. We'll come down and pick him up." So he gave me all his information. I go to the court. I get a warrant for his arrest. And me and a trooper fly down to Florida. And the guy refuses to talk to us. I said to him, "Well, fine. My partner and I will go to the beach and have a good time today. And we'll see you in court in the morning." "Oh, okay, whatever you say." "Judge, don't let him go tonight because he'll disappear." "No, he ain't going anywhere." So the next day we go back to the police department. We get him out of the jail, take him over to the court, and the judge instructs us, "Don't you talk to this guy. I don't want you talking to him before he gets to the court and gets a lawyer." I goes, "Oh, of course, Your Honor. We wouldn't do a thing like that." So, which reminds me of another case where a fellow who disappeared for 8 years on a homicide of a 7-year-old child. And there were 3 guys involved, and we got 2 right away. The 3rd guy disappeared, and he called me up. I gave him my home phone number because he came in one time and said, "I want to be an informant." I said, "Well, have you got some stuff pending in court?" "Yes." "Good. You go straighten that out, and you come back and see me when you do your time or whatever. I'll be back." Never came back. Committed a murder where he had taped up this small child, 7 years old, and taped her over the mouth and the nose. So, of course, she can't breathe, and she dies. So now it's a homicide. So he disappears, and I always told him, "You're going to be walking down through New York someday. I'm going to pop out of a barrel and punch you in the mouth. Then I'm going to lock you up." "Oh, you're funny." I goes, "Believe me, I will." 8 years goes by. 1 o'clock in the morning, the phone rings. It was Barocas. Brian knew about the case, knew I had been involved in it. And he says to me, hey, you got to call this sergeant in New York right away. He's got information about your man. I said, okay, give me his number. So he did. And I called up the sergeant. He says, I understand you're investigating this case. I said, yep. He says, you got a warrant on this guy? I said, I do. All right, I want you to fax it to me right away with a photograph of the guy. Well, the guy had never been arrested. So I had a 1-inch photograph I got out of Malden Mills when he attempted to get employed up there. So I said, I'll do the best I can. You're going to have to blow up the picture. He says, no, I got an informant. I'm working with an informant on this. He's a guy I locked up for a minor charge. Ran into this guy. He knew him by name. He remembered him from Lawrence. And he said, I need a deal in court. Well, he says, he got a minor issue. He's going to turn a murderer. You got a good deal, kid. So they made arrangements. And the sergeant said, Jack, I'll give you a call. Give me your number. I'll give you a call. All right, this is the police department. Just ask for the detectives. I'll answer the phone. About 9:30 in the morning, he calls me up. He says, we got him. I said, you got Francis? We got Francis Sepulveda. And guess what he said when we locked him up? That effing McDonald. He caught up with me. So, yeah, that's the way it went. But when it comes to Don, thank you for no lighting. You know, he was the best. Even though he ripped my pants down. I never really did get even. But I talk to him now and then. He'll hit me with lightning one of these days. Thank you very much, sir. I didn't recognize you, sir. You look just like your father.
I know. I've heard that one.
Oh, you do.
Jack, if he was here right now, he'd be saying that you're the best too. So that's absolutely. Absolutely. I was asked to recognize Stephanie Infante, City Council Vice President, has arrived. Oh, hi. Next speaker we have is retired Detective Thomas Murphy, Lawrence Police Department.
Good afternoon. First, I want to thank Mayor Pena and the members of the City Council and the State Rep for allowing this event to happen today. I first met Don Cronin in September of 1993. We were freshmen in Central Catholic High School. Back then when Don was a freshman, he knew the deed of discipline, but it wasn't on a friendly basis. Little did we know when we finished our high school, we'd be Lawrence Lancers and not a Central Catholic. But however, during our working career, we spent more time in the Central Catholic parking lot than we did anywhere else for extra details. So Central Catholic will always be part of us also. Thank retired Chief Roy Vass for being here, the retired and active members, retired Lieutenant Colonel Ron Gilmet sends his best, former chief. He was going to be here, but an eventful family event occurred, so he couldn't be here, but he sends his best to the Cronin family. So when Dawn and I got on the police department, Dawn got on in May of 1972, I believe, and I got on in November. That's when we reconnected after our days in Lawrence High School, and Dawn served 4 years in the United States Air Force. Dawn was on patrol, and he was always a very proud and meticulous person, wore his uniform like the day he graduated probably from the academy or from basic training in the Air Force, where he served so proudly. During Dawn's years as a Lawrence police officer, he always presented himself as a true gentleman and respect for everyone. But he did have an Irish temper, and we don't want to talk about that. We'll talk about that somewhere else. But he was a close friend of mine, and when we retired, I went to work at Merrimack College in the police department I was honored to bring Don over there for a couple of years as a sergeant at the Merrimack College Police Department. And he provided so much knowledge and wisdom to the young officers there. So I'm very honored today. And when you think of this wonderful memory of Don Cronin to be here for always, and you think of Lawrence High, Central Catholic, and a Rocky Club. They're all within Don's domain. So Don, you're up there with the two newest sergeants. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tom. The Cronin family would like to express appreciation to the following folks. Office of the Mayor, Brian DePena, thank you very much. Mass State Representative Estela Reyes, the Lawrence City Council and the councilors that have come out today, the Lawrence Police Department, thank you very much. Director of Veteran Services, Jaime L. Melendez Jr., and his assistant, Nilsa Caraballo, DPW Director Jorge Jaime and his staff. And then next I would like to introduce to give some closing remarks, Veterans Director Jaime L. Melendez Jr.
Hey, DJ, the new MC, good job. Let's give him a round. He did a wonderful job controlling this whole situation and making it happen. I first want to just say specifically to Nelson Silva, thank you for allowing me to be a part of this, such a wonderful event, for such a wonderful man. It wasn't talked about a lot, but Don served during Vietnam era, you know, and that is a generation of servicemen and women that this nation didn't do the appropriate thing with, all right? So what I'd like to do is, if you served in Vietnam and it's possible, please stand or raise your hand. Thank you. I'm sorry, for those that served during Vietnam, please stand and raise your hand, and raise your hand. Welcome home, and thank you for your service. I believe that part of Don's service has a lot to do with the man he became, because I know how it affected me serving. So I appreciate everything that he's done for this city. I really appreciate the history that you gave. That was amazing. So thank you for that. Before I retire the colors, I would ask that when we're done, if you would please hold back for a second so I can get the family up here and with our elected officials to get a couple of pictures, if that's okay. And but that's it. So if you would please rise, I know. Yeah, please.
Sorry, one person I left out that he was first on my list to thank, and I didn't want to thank him first, I wanted to thank him last, because none of this would have happened without Nelson Silva. Thank you so much, Nelson Silva. Appreciate everything you've done here.
You're still good with me though. And you know what, Jack? I think you got him. I think you got him today. He's looking down and smiling, and thank you for the stories, all right? So without further ado, because I know I want to get these guys out of here, if you would please rise. This is the conclusion of the ceremony, but I want to retire the colors.
Raise colors. Right face. Forward.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This concludes the ceremony. I just want to tell our brothers and sisters in blue, thank you. Thank you for what you do every day. Please stay safe, watch each other's backs, and come home at night, all right? Thank you.